Welcome to Watch JoJo. Today we're going to be talking about lemons and limes, different cuts you can use for them, most optimum ways to get juices, and just everything you need to know. The question becomes kind of, what's the difference? And they admittedly have like kind of a different flavor profile. Lemons are kind of more of a like springy, like they bring out other flavors, whereas limes I find kind of warp flavors around itself. So like lime pairs really nicely with, say, cilantro and stuff in Mexican cooking. Like they use limes for everything, and like almost no lemons whatsoever. But then you'll see people always finish something up, they need an acid, and if you're looking for an acid that plays well with other flavors, lemon is where I would want to go. Lemon I use for marinades. I've used lime marinades in the past, but I found them to be just a little bit too present. It doesn't really want to share the spotlight per se, in my experience at least. We're gonna break things down a little more, and we're gonna talk about citrus and kind of what it does for cooking. So citrus can be used in some cases to cook things. So what's cool is the acids break things down, and that's essentially what cooking is. It's breaking things down, changing the flavors. And so like for like certain salad dressings and stuff, you always use your lemons or limes, usually lemons, honestly. And this breaks down the other ingredients you have. It's also used in marinades. So the citrus kind of like breaks them down so that like the other flavors can penetrate, makes it so that like rather than doing like a rub with seasoning, that the flavors will get farther into whatever you're making, and it'll also make it a lot more moist. Citrus in general can be used to kind of wake up the dish and like literally wake up people. Like if you're ever feeling kind of tired, like eating an orange legitimately will wake you up because that citrus like revitalizes you. It brings a lot of energy to dishes. Fresh citrus can be usually added at the end of a dish to kind of give it a pop. And it's honestly like a multifaceted tool. Like definitely, anytime I'm cooking, I always have lemons in the kitchen. And I usually, when in doubt, default to lemons. But I do love limes when I'm cooking basically anything Mexican, like when I'm doing fresh pico, doing guacamole, other things where all the flavors are so strong that lime isn't gonna take the spotlight. So next up, we're working on different kind of cuts you can use for your lemons and limes. Little tricks and tips that will make things a little easier, less likely you're gonna get a stray shot of lime juice in your eye, which I can tell you hurts. I like to go end to end, half, and then what I would do here is I would zip off the ends if I'm going to be having this presented and I want to squeeze it. So boom. And so what this does is when you go to juice, it'll spray forward, whereas when you go to squeeze it, if you were to do one that doesn't have its ends cut, you'll see the juices will buckle on the sides a little more, whereas if you cut the sides, it'll spray a little more forward. Also, I think it just looks a little sharper, a little more tidy. This especially helps with ones where you have that big ugly seed you need to get rid of. Like our slices, which you can go as thin as you'd like. And so a slice of lemon or lime has a lot of purposes. You can use it to preserve like a guacamole and prevent the oxidization. by creating a layer of lemon. You can do it with pure juice, but then the juice will be absorbed into the guacamole itself. So this covering technique would allow it so that your guacamole doesn't brown, and we'll cover guacamole in another video. So everyone's been to a bar, had a drink, slice from the middle, pop that on the edge, and then additionally for garnish, what you can do, you can have these stand up on their own in the corner of a dish, or you can start interlocking them. See if I can get this to look pretty. Go for some artistic flair if you were looking for that on your dish, if you're looking for that as like a corner piece with a piece of cilantro. Presentation can be the difference between a plate looking like it's worth $12 and looking like it's worth $20. And you've got all these lines. And so you can cut inside them to lock in each one of those segments. And you could create a there we go, slightly thicker piece. I'm going to skip a couple of segments and just go for this plus that, so every 2 or so segments. And I'm counting inwards. Check, check, and check. So what that allows you to do is roll out some segments. You might have to snip the insides a little more. Do some neat garnishes on the side of the plate. Could even be using these like little segments. You could fully cut them. But what's cool is all the juices are locked into each one of these segments. So nice little garnishes. Play around with it, have a bit of fun with it. Like there's no right and wrong way to do garnishes. It's just that it either looks good or it doesn't. Next up, we're doing the taste test. Lemon versus lime. Not my idea. My idea. Oh no. So obviously, no one wants to just eat lemon straight up or lime straight up. I mean, unless you're doing like a shot of tequila or something. And unfortunately, I'm not allowed tequila. So what I'm gonna do here is I want tequila. What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to attempt to taste and like kind of go over the flavors that are in the lemon and just like maybe give you a % difference in like the craziness of how much more potent the lime is, because I know it's more potent. So, I mean, here we go. I'm about to get a real bitter look on my face. Lemons and limes. My eyes are watering too. I'm gonna make you eat one of these each. You're gonna understand how much I'm suffering right now. So like, obviously the first flavor you're gonna have is like that heavy acid taste. It's supposed to be a garnish. It's supposed to finish things off. And even in its raw form, like lemon is really, really potent. Like the only reason people do it afterwards is to like clear the way after they've done a shot of like aggressive alcohol. So like don't be going around eating lemons. That's weird. But like It's bitter and sharp, but it calms and then comes back almost as a sour. Whereas with limes, oh god. It punches a little harder and steadier. Like, oh. Kind of like an orange on steroids, but a lot saltier. And like, the big thing at play here is just how much the citrus rises and like overpowers anything else that's on your palate. Like, that's why people use it in chases. That's why people use limes in like aggressive like Mexican dishes with like heavy cilantro is a big flavor. Garlic is a big flavor, especially when raw. The acidity almost will like break down things in like a fresh salsa, the acidity. And the lime is definitely a lot more powerful than the lemon. The lemon is like milder, it spikes a little, but like this is citrus in its purest, most powerful form. And a little bit of citrus can bring forth flavors. Like, I, in the previous video, made chicken wings, and like I finished those, and like they were reasonably salty. This is bringing all that saltiness back that was like in my palate, on my tongue. So now we're going to talk about zest. Not only can you use the juice from limes and lemons for stuff, but you can use the zest, which will add like a stronger, like almost like a seasoning based like flavor to it. Zest is the outside rind of the skin. So all this outside isn't garbage. This is what we can use. And there's two different ways to go about it. One, use a fine grater or zester, like it's a grater. If you really have to, like just use your cheese grater and it works. Cheese grater will work fine, and all you would do is just run it down and scrape off layers until you see the white. So you don't want any of the white, you just want the outside layer. You want the skin, the yellow bit, or in this case, the green bit as well. And then the other option is with a sharp knife. You can just peel away layers and then finely dice them, mince them if you will, and you can use that. Say you're running on a minimal kitchen, you're running on the basics, just the pot, the pan, the knife, the stove, let's go, kind of deal. So it'll get caught on here, it'll take a bit, but this is jam-packed with that sharp flavor. You can see the difference here where I've scraped it off. I've almost hit the white here. I could probably try and get another layer if I tried real hard. Let's do some more, see how far I can go. Let's like literally go too far. I don't know if you can see that whiteness there. So that's me like starting to peel like the skin layer, this part. Cause like at the end of the day, we're not looking for this fleshy bit. We're looking for just this outside skin. This is, you're trying to minimize the amount of white you have here. So let's see if I can get it even thinner. So we've got our zester, and this gives us this product here, right? And you can do the whole lemon and you'll get a pretty good yield. Or if you don't have that, you should be cutting so thin that you can almost see the knife through it. Can you see the knife through that? Because I think that's really cool. You're minimizing it so much, like here, these are much better. You can almost see right through it. And so then you can take this product and just mince it up. And you can use that in your dish for like a sauce or pasta or like a marinade. This would be very good in a marinade. Just want to pass over it a couple more times. Trying to go just as thin as you can. You're min-maxing. You're getting as much value out of that lemon as possible. Obviously, there's a texture difference here. These are going to stay pretty much as whole as you leave them, and they're going to be like little nuggets of explosive flavor, whereas this is going to spread out a little more thinly and evenly. So there might be times where you actually would rather have dice, but really that's just kind of a trick for if you're in a pinch, you don't have the grate. So here I'm going to cheat a little, and rather than cutting the middle and then juicing, I'm going to cut from the side. And by cutting from the side, I'm using less lemon, but I'm dodging almost all the seeds. And I'm going to do that and that. So as you can see, all the seeds are in the middle here. This is the best example here. And then if you look, I've got like one stray seed here, easy to take out, not into my zest like an idiot. One stray seed here, but otherwise, juicing this is gonna be super easy because there's nothing else to get in. So here, we're loosening the juices, and this is a trick for you to get juice out of your lemon when you only need a little bit without having the whole lemon go bad, which is pretty cool. Because if you were to just leave it out like this guy from previously, then all this would start drying up and get crusty and hard. We've loosened up all those juices, you know, nice and soft. We can make a puncture right here in the end. I'm just using like a thermometer, but anything will work. Punch. And let's see if it works. Yep. Can just squeeze the lemon juice right out of it. Citrus is like super important to cooking. It brings out all these strong flavors by being strong itself and rising the other flavors with it. I mean, when it comes to cooking, you're dealing with your spicy, you're dealing with salty, you're dealing with like kind of like the savory, like richness, earthy flavors, and citrus is like its own flavor. Like that's how big this is. It's like this can't be beat. It can't be replaced with a couple of the other ones. What it does is it brings everything together or rises it up.